Part 110. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1091. Chapter 1091. The eldest brother is healthy, the second child is weak, and the third child. Wei didn't know why Yezikin suddenly said I'm sorry. All she could think about was her children. Yezikin's words brought her directly to her, and her face turned pale with fright. Brother, where are our children? Wei's mood suddenly became excited, and only then did Yezikin realize that she had made a mistake. Hurry to reassure her, the child is okay, the child is fine. Wei reached out and grabbed Yezikin's sleeves, looking anxious. I want to see them, I want to take care of the child. Regardless of gender, she only cares about whether her baby is healthy. Xiao Li, don't worry, I'll have someone bring the child over to show you. Although Yezikin calmed her down, Wei was still a little uneasy about the child, so he deliberately said, I heard that newborns are very sensitive to everything around them. If you don't restrain your emotions, you will scare the child. He made a nonsense just to make Wei feel at ease. Wei, who loved his son so much, really believed it and immediately relaxed his expression. I'm not in a hurry, she said this to Yezikin, but also to herself. She gently tugged Yezikin's finger. Brother, I want to see our baby. Good. After a while, the nurse brought the eldest son over, who was a chubby boy. When he saw the child, Wei's face immediately burst into a smile. Then she thought again, why only one? She knew early on that she was carrying more than one child. Now that I only see one, what do the mothers who have just given birth think? Seeing the change in Wei's expression, Yezikin chuckled and pinched her fingers. I'm worried. The other two children are still in the incubator and can't be taken out at the moment, but they are fine. There are two more. Wei blinked, as if he still couldn't digest the real news. She gave birth to 3 children in one breath. The eldest was a son, and the second and third were daughters. The eldest child absorbed the most nutrients and weighed more than the other two at birth. Actually, the 2 children were alive and well, but the situation was not very good. But Yezikin couldn't show concern for her daughter at this time, lest she disturb Wei, and she would definitely not be able to rest peacefully at that time. With only insistence, she dragged her weak body to see the 2 children. Because there is no close contact, Wei cannot know the most specific situation of the 2 children. Everyone tacitly concealed the true situation about the other 2 children. The second child was physically weaker, while the third child needed special attention. According to the doctor, we are lucky that all the multiple births were born safely, but the physical condition of that child is not optimistic. It is lucky if all the multiples are born smoothly, but in many cases, weak children are easy to die due to poor health. But Wei was still kept in the dark about all this. She misses her daughter in her heart, but now she cannot get close to her and can only tease her son every day. You brat, it's all your fault for depriving my sister of all her nutrition. You've grown so white and fat that mommy can't even see her now. After much thought, she could only vent her unjust anger on her son. It was Yuan Ran who warned her seriously after hearing this. Xiao Li, don't scold my godson. Wei said, and Ran, I won't scold your godson. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1092. Chapter 1092, Marry You. Iffies. Wei was talking harmoniously with Yuan Ran. When everything was quiet, Gong Qinli screamed, attracting their attention. I saw drops of blood coming out of her fingers in a steady stream. What's wrong? Quick, stop the bleeding. It's okay, it's just a minor injury. Gong Qinli accidentally hurt her finger while peeling an apple. She washed it, disinfected it, applied medicine, and put on an okay bandage. Actually, Wei had noticed that Gong Qinli was worried in the past 2 days, but seeing her pretending to be relaxed in front of others, she didn't ask any questions. Now you can even cut your fingers when peeling an apple, really? Luli, what's wrong with you? It's okay, I've been busy with a lot of things at work recently, so I'm a little dizzy. Be careful, don't hurt yourself. Ye Wei said a few words of concern, and deliberately used his son as a conversation starter. You are such a careless godmother, don't play with her in the future. This made Gong Qinli unhappy. Don't teach my godson a bad lesson, it. According to the previous agreement, the 3 children will have 2 more godmothers and 2 more godfathers as soon as they are born. The 2 godmothers are Yuan Ran and Gong Qinli. As for the 2 godfathers, of course they are Beiya and Nangong Luo. Because Kitano was with Yuan Ran, he took on Yuan Ran's identity and could be the child's godfather. Nangong Luo became the godfather because of his close brotherhood with Yezikan. When mentioning this matter, Ye Wei intentionally made an insinuation. Those who don't know would think you and brother Nangong are a couple. Boom. Gong Qinli suddenly slammed the table to stop her joke. Ye Wei and Yuan Ran were surprised by her behavior, but they didn't know the reason. Gong Qinli knew that she had lost her composure, so she found an excuse to leave, her pace accelerating as if she was escaping. Luli has been in a bad mood recently. Could it be related to brother Nangong? Yuan Ran shook her head, because she didn't understand anything about these things. Nangong Luo has not announced the news of his marriage yet, and others don't know about it yet, even Gong Qinli doesn't know about it yet. What she knows now is, Zhonyun is pregnant with Nangong Luo's child, and Nangong Luo promised to marry Zhonyun. Just these 2 truths have completely confused her brain and heart. But she was helpless. If Zhonyun was not pregnant, she could still work hard to get the person she likes back to her, but the fact has already existed. Should she be required to be a mistress? Can't do it, can't understand it. She is full of confusion about her feelings. After leaving the ward, Gong Qinli wanted to see the child in the incubator, but she didn't expect to run into Nangong Luo. The 2 of them did not say hello as before. Instead, they tacitly treated each other as strangers and made way for each other. It's just that they have such a tacit understanding. The rhythm of turning left or right or stopping to give way is the same every time, so no one can get away. You first. You first. The 2 of them spoke in unison and were deadlocked. Gong Qinli. She stopped for a moment, and when Nangong Luo stood still, she passed by him. Seeing the child, she couldn't help but think of Zhonyun. Feeling agitated, she wanted to go outside for a walk, but met Gu Chenxi again. The hospital is so small, you can see familiar people wherever you go. Gu Chenxi seemed to be watching her joke now. Zhonyun is in the hospital. It's not my business. Luo is accompanying her for regular check ups. You're so annoying. You still don't give up. What do you tube? I just suddenly felt that marrying you is a good choice. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1093. Chapter 1093. Zhonyun is not a good person. Did you say it wrong or did I hear it wrong? Dr. Gu wants to marry me. I said it right, and you heard it right. Gong Qinli raised a hand to cover her face. Dr. Gu, I was the one who disturbed you before. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong and I will never dare to do it again. Please let me go. She didn't believe that a cold-hearted person like Gu Chenxi could be emotional at all, so when Gu Chenxi said he wanted to marry her, she didn't feel shy or embarrassed. She reflexively thought, Gu Chenxi was going to punish her. But Gu Chenxi told her with a serious look, I'm serious. Gong Qinli sighed, if you really marry me, how can I? She pointed outside the building, hooked her fingers, but withdrew her hand, and changed the words jump down that she had not yet said to Drgu really wants to marry me, then go to my house to propose marriage in person hum hum. The last three hum sounds are not hums, but a perfunctory smile with the mouth closed, as fake as possible. She was facing Guchensi. If others looked at her expression, they would know that she was speaking ironically. It's a pity that Nangong Luo couldn't see her expression. Zhonyun came to the obstetrics and gynecology department for regular check UPS, but Nangong Luo did not accompany her deliberately. After he separated from Gongqin Li, he couldn't help but look back and look at her from a distance. Seeing her and Guchensi together, they got closer little by little, knowing that they could hear their voices clearly, but they didn't expect to hear Gongqin Li and Guchensi's coquettish words. Zhonyun knew that Nangong Luo was also in this hospital, so she deliberately went to look for him after the examination. When she found Nangong Luo, she saw Nangong Luo sitting on a rest chair and walked over. "Luo, I've finished checking. When do you plan to go back?" Because the relationship in front of his family has changed, Zhonyun changed his name to Nangong Luo to Luo, which seemed to bring the two people closer. And Nangong Luo was in a bad mood at the moment, and he didn't look good when facing Zhonyun, who only had a cooperative relationship with him. He only said, "I still have something to do." Zhonyun seemed to be unable to understand what he meant, and deliberately teased him, "I also said that I would give you a ride on your car. What else do you have to do? Otherwise, I'll wait for you to leave together." "Don't wait for me, you can go back by yourself." Probably because he didn't want to chat with Zhonyun, and Nangong Luo couldn't be too harsh to the woman who was his savior, he stood up and moved to avoid Zhonyun. Looking at Nangong Luo's back leaving indifferently, Zhonyun squinted and sighed. When he opened his eyes again, the expression in his eyes was not the gentle one he usually had in front of Nangong Luo. Zhonyun did not leave, but went to the obstetrics and gynecology ward. She walked back and forth several times and finally saw the person she was looking for. Zhonyun calmed down her expression, walked over as if she had just met by chance, and accidentally knocked down Gongqin Li. "Hey, I'm sorry, sorry." Zhonyun apologized immediately, and heard Gongqin Li's voice above her head, "It's okay." Gongqin Li, who had just been hit, turned around and saw Zhonyun face to face. Gongqin Li recognized Zhonyun at first sight, and her eyes became deeper and deeper. Zhonyun looked surprised, "Miss Gong, I didn't expect to meet you here." Gongqin Li glanced away and said, "Miss Zhong, I'm sorry, I have to leave beforehand." "Hey, wait a minute." Zhonyun reached out and grabbed Gongqin Li, who was about to leave. The title says it all. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1094. Chapter 1094. Li Yulai went to pick up the puppy. Gongqin Li subconsciously waved her hand, which made Zhonyun take a few steps back. Zhonyun clutched her stomach, her cautious look stung Gongqin Li's eyes. Moving the corners of his mouth, he wanted to say something, but when he saw Zhonyun's appearance, he just took a deep breath and said, "If you have anything to say, just tell me." Zhonyun covered her stomach with one hand and distanced herself from her. "Miss Gong, I know that Mrsya gave birth safely. I wanted to visit today, but I can't find you right now. Seeing you here makes me feel relieved." "Visit, are you familiar with them?" "Well." Zhonyun shook his head, "To be honest, the relationship is not deep, but since I have married Luo, his friends are also my friends." "Marry." Other words are not important, Gongqin Li's focus is entirely on those two words. Zhonyun hugged her slightly, nodded and admitted, "Yes, yes." "Ms Gong, what's wrong with you, you look so surprised." Gongqin Li took 2 steps forward, because Gao's Honggyun had a head on his head, and seemed to feel condescending. She was not polite this time and directly called out Zhonyun's full name. "Zhonyun, you mean you are married?" You and Nangong Luo. Zhou Yun seemed to be frightened by Gong Qinli's strong aura. She was stunned for a while and then nodded heavily. Yes, Luo and I have already received the certificate. Gong Qinli clenched her fists instantly, and there were two rattling sounds between her bones. How can she endure the unwillingness and anger in her heart? She didn't care about Zhou Yun, turned around and left. Zhou Yun watched with her own eyes as Gong Qinli's figure gradually moved away until she disappeared before her eyes. She didn't know how much impact her words had on Gong Qinli, but she wasn't worried at all because she always had a smile on her face. Subsequently, he accurately found the only room where he rested in the night and visited in the name of the Nangong family. Gong Qinli became angrier and angrier as she thought about it, and felt aggrieved. She called Nangong Luo while walking and asked a question. Nangong Luo, are you married to Zhou Yun? Yes. You bastard. Getting the answer from that person herself, she didn't have the courage or qualification to ask further. They had already made their choice, and she was the only one waiting there stupidly. It makes me angry just thinking about it. She almost smashed her phone. She left the hospital after sending a text message to Ye Weiwei, and found the Ye bar where they used to go most often. She sat at the bar in the front hall and wanted to drink as soon as she opened her mouth. The bartender brought her the best wine, knowing that this person was a wealthy benefactor. The night bar has both men and women. Due to specific regulations, chaotic relationships between men and women will not happen randomly here. Although nothing bad will happen, people will inevitably hook up with you. Such a charming beauty like Gong Qinli was sitting there. Even a long-sleeved shirt and slim-fitting trousers that covered her entire legs could not hide her beauty. Instead, they perfectly accentuated her convex and concave figure. In this way, she seemed to become the brightest star in the eyes of all the men in the night bar. Sister, excuse me. Hearing this unique title, Gong Qinli turned around and took a look. It was a man with good features and handsome features. How to describe it? It looks good, the innocent and harmless type that comes standard with pretty boys, and it looks like a puppy. Since he has the guts to tease people, I don't know what his character is. She is bored anyway, so she might as well play with this person. Gong Qinli turned around and raised her eyebrows at him with a smile. That smile was so charming that it made other people's hearts flutter. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1095. Chapter 1095 Kiss on the Mouth. What, is something wrong, little brother? I am 24 years old this year, the little puppy eagerly emphasized his age, and his face turned a little red. Oh. I'm not the little brother. Looking at his slightly anxious look, Gong Qinli found it even more interesting. She flipped her hair casually, and her long, smooth hair came out between her fingers and hooked behind her fair ears. This simple action was done by a beautiful woman, and the charm in it was particularly different. With a smile on her face, she said, "Okay, little brother, what do you want?" The little puppy squeezed his hand, as if he was nervous, and stammered, "Can I kiss you?" Gong Qinli lowered her head, and a ha-ha-ha laughter gradually escaped from her mouth. "You want to kiss me? I. Hurry up, hurry up!" Several people suddenly appeared behind the little dog, both men and women. They looked like college students. Seeing this scene, Gong Qinli probably guessed, "Did you lose the big adventure?" When the little girl heard this, she felt as if her purpose had been revealed, which made her panic. "I lost, but I chose this big adventure of my own free will." Friends gave him several choices, and he chose this one just to be bold in the name of big adventure. "Oh, that's it, I'll give you a kiss." Gong Qinli leaned towards the puppy and tapped her red lips with her slender fingers. The little puppy's cheeks suddenly turned red, and even its two frightening ears were not spared. The smile on Gong Qinli's face became even bigger. If she wants to seduce people, she can change from a heroic female police officer to a mature and charming urban woman. As long as you want. She lightly tapped her red lips with her fingers, obviously teasing her deliberately. This scene is quite exciting. The group of friends behind the little puppy blushed and shouted, "Kiss! Kiss me!" The little puppy's face turned red. He spotted the location, closed his eyes and got closer little by little. Just when he was about to get close, a hand suddenly stretched out between the two of them, and the little puppy suddenly kissed in the wrong place. It's not the sweet and soft red lips as imagined, but the friction of clothes. The little puppy opened his eyes and found that his welfare was blocked by a hand, and he had just kissed it on his clothes. You. The little puppy took a step back in fright, and the blush on his face faded at a visible speed. Who are you? The little milk dog was full of hostility towards this man who suddenly appeared and disturbed the welfare of his close beauty. Gongkinli waved the arm in front of her. "Luo, you scared him." Nangong Luo frowned and his face was ashen. He didn't care how the little puppy behind him yelled, he just didn't believe that Gongkinli would do such a thing. "Lu Li, you're drunk." He picked up Gongkinli regardless and let her rely on him. But Gongkinli didn't appreciate it. She slowly pushed Nangong Luo away, sat back in her original position, and waved her hand to Nangong Luo. "I didn't drink. I'm sober." Nangong Luo did not argue with her about whether she was drunk or not, and directly changed his words and said, "I will take you home." Gongkinli still shook her head. "What's the rush? It's still early, I still want to have some fun." She picked up the wine glass at hand, raised it and smiled in the direction of the little puppy. "Stand up and take 2 steps in the direction of the puppy." "Just 2 steps." When I wanted to go forward again, I found that I couldn't move. The heart of the manic Mr. Luo, can I still let a pretty boy seduce my woman? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1096. Chapter 1096. Nangong Luo's principle of doting on his wife. Admit your mistakes first. Unable to break away from Nangong Luo, Gongkinli curled her lips and muttered unhappily, "Why do you always like to drag me around?" These people pulled her involuntarily every time, but what she heard when she stopped was not good news. Nangong Luo really let go after hearing her complaint. But Nangong Luo did not let her go directly at this moment, but instead used the method of holding hands. "Lu Li, did I make you unhappy? I'm sorry, it's all my fault. We won't play today, I'll take you home." "No, leave me alone." She was still a little emboldened after drinking. She was unwilling to hold it in as usual and showed her willful side. But Nangong Luo, who knew her character well, didn't care about this. At this moment, the little puppy saw Gongkinli walking in his direction. Regardless of the dissuasion of his friends, he eagerly wanted to show off. "Miss, some of my friends want to invite you to play with me. You want to come, want to come?" Gongkinli smiled and said, "Okay." She not only agreed verbally, but also took steps to put it into action. Nangong Luo was not panicked. If there's no reason why he can't take it with him, he still has a trump card. Pinched Gongkinli's palm, he came closer and said softly, "If you don't want to go home, let's go see the 3 children, Zhiruo has already come out of the incubator." Gongkinli's hand in the air shook. She turned her head to look at him and asked 3 words, "Come out." "Well, do you want to meet me?" "I'm going." Hearing about the child, Gongkinli instantly put aside her anger about the puppy. For example, if it is the second child's name, and the second child has come out of the incubator, it means that she is safe. If she comes out, what about Nuan Nuan? Is Nuan Nuan okay? Don't worry, Nuanuan's situation is a little worse, and you need to observe carefully. The three children were decided the moment they filled out their birth information. Their names come from a sentence: smile warmly and be at ease. If you bloom, the breeze will come. The eldest son was named Yeching Feng, and the second son was named Yezhiruo. Under the strong efforts of the Mo family, the third son took the surname of Mo and was named Mo Xiongnuan. Although Gong Qinli went to the hospital with Nangong Luo, she pretended not to hear whatever Nangong Luo said on the way. Because she was afraid that she would lose her temper as soon as she opened her mouth, which would make everyone look bad. When she finally walked into the hospital, Nangong Luo asked her seriously again, "Lu Li, did I offend you?" Gong Qinli raised her eyes to look at him, looked away, and bit her lower lip. "You really don't care about what happened before. Lu Li, the past is the past. As a human being, you must look forward. You." Gong Qinli raised her hand and pointed, almost losing her temper again. "Forget it, don't talk to me again." She angrily waved her hands in front of Nangong Luo and ran away at a faster speed. The second child, Yezhiruo, has been taken out and placed next to Ye Weiwei. There are two small beds temporarily placed beside the only bed in the night, one on the left and one on the left. The eldest and the second child lie on each side. Seeing the innocent child, the anger in Gong Qinli's heart dissipated instantly. "I finally got to see Jiruo, it's so cute." Hold up the child carefully. Gong Qinli, who calls herself a tomboy, can still show her gentle side. Although she is not as gentle as water, there is a warm and beautiful feeling when seeing her holding the child. Nangong Luo saw the scene and found it very dazzling. If everything depends on the title, everything is arranged. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1097. Chapter 1097. The third daughter Mo Xiongnuan is missing. The moment he saw Gong Qinli holding the child, he actually still had extravagant hopes and fantasies. If they could be together and have a lovely child, then he would do everything he could to pamper her. However, Gong Qinli does not belong to him. He can only hide all his unwillingness and pain and wish the girl he loves most to be happy. I heard her talking about marriage to Gu Jinsi before, so I guess the day when the two of them will actually be together is not far away. As a friend, he could only put away all his deep feelings and not reveal them, which was the best blessing to her. 3 days later, after observation and diagnosis by a professional doctor, the third child, Mo Xiongnuan, was in good physical condition and could probably be carried out and live a normal life as a baby in the next few days. Hearing the good news, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Especially Ye Weiwei, the big stone in her heart finally fell. Although everyone else hid it from her, she was so smart. At first, they believed everything they said because they were worried, but then they thought about it. The children who were put into the incubator were all children who were not healthy enough. The situation must not be good. Good. In fact, she often went to see her daughter behind the back of those who cared about her, but the distance between her and her made her feel anxious and expectant. Now that all three children are growing up healthily, she feels that this is probably the happiest thing in her life. Nuan can come out today. I want to be the first to see her. Good. Ye Weiwei's health has improved, and the main reason for staying in the hospital is to protect the child. Now she wants to pick up the little guy in person, and there is no problem. Ye Wei held Yezikin's hand, thinking that he would see his third daughter soon, and felt happy. But when they passed by, they found that the sign with the name Mo Xiongnuan was missing, and the baby inside was also missing. What's wrong? Where is my daughter? Yes, only question was to call the nurse next to him, who looked confused. Inquiring about the nurse who was on duty just now, a young girl hurried over. Ye Weiwei grabbed her hand and asked anxiously, "Where is my daughter? Where is Mo Xiongnuan?" Isn't Mo Xiongnuan taken away by her relatives? What? Who took it away? A middle-aged man just came. He took out his ID and said he was Mo Xiongnuan's grandfather, and that I personally took him to the observation room. The baby who just came out of the incubator still needs to be observed a few times, because the third child, Mo Xiongnuan, has a weaker constitution, and an observation room was specially prepared for her. According to the nurse, she personally brought the child into the observation room with a middle-aged man who called himself Grandpa Mo Xiongnuan. Quick, go to the observation room. Ye Ziwei anxiously pulled Yezikin towards the observation room. Yezikin, who still had some sense, called the nurse over. But when they went there, they found that the observation room was empty. There was no one there. Where is my daughter? Ye Weiwei suddenly became flustered. Look for Nuan Nuan, look for Nuan Nuan quickly. I never thought that such an accident would happen, and I am very scared when I think about it. Failure to find her child is such a threat to a mother who loves her child so much. Yezikin frowned and the veins on the back of his hands popped out, showing how angry he was. Damn it, bring all the nurses who were on duty just now and the doctors involved in this matter, call up the whole hospital surveillance immediately and investigate. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1098. Chapter 1098 Postpartum Depression. Could it be him? Ye Weiwei didn't mention his name, but she and Yezikin had already thought of someone. The only person who can prove that he is Mo Xiongnuan's grandfather is Ye Hantian. Ye Hantian, who was originally imprisoned because his past crimes were exposed, has completed his sentence after so many years. It's my fault that I was so careless that I forgot. Xiao Li, calm down. I want to calm down too, but you tell me how to calm down. Our daughter is missing and I want to calm down too. I want to find her. I want to go find her. Women are always more emotional, not to mention a mother who cares deeply about her child but cannot see her. Anything related to her child will affect her mood. If it's really that person, Nuan Nuan will definitely be in danger. She can't expect that the person who has been her friend for many years can frame her up. She can't expect him to have much conscience. Pushing Yezikin's hand away, Ye Weiwei walked straight out. She had to find it herself. Yezikin reached over her, held her shoulders, with a serious expression, and said to her in a calm voice, I promise, Nuan Nuan will come back safely, trust me. No more wasting time. After arranging an investigation, we learned that Ye Hantian was released from prison early because of his good behavior in prison. It has been 3 months since then. The only thing that happened in the night was those messages, which made me feel confused. Ye Hantian has been out of prison for 3 months but has never appeared in front of them. But when everyone forgot about him, he caught everyone off guard. Ye Weiwei even thought about whether Ye Hantian wanted to take away his third daughter to threaten them. She is even looking forward to it, because at least she can get news about her daughter. But nothing happened. Ye Hantian never appeared. Mrs. Ye was unwilling to admit it. She said to herself, everything is your guess. It may not be him. But when she said this, Mrs. Ye herself had no confidence. Because Ye Hantian's whereabouts could not be found, it made him even more suspicious. The disappearance of Mo Xiongnuan caused a sensation among the big families in S City. Although she was still a baby under 1 month old, there were 4 families who had something to do with her, but there were only 4 families who had good relations with the Ye family. Almost all the forces are looking for traces of a baby. Since they were not sure what Mo Xiongnuan would do if Ye Hantian took him away, they did not spare any place. The airport, train station, and other transportation points that could leave S City were all guarded at all levels. But Ye Hantian never showed up from beginning to end. S City is so big, and the people who took Mo Xiongnuan away were even more prepared. He might have prepared enough things to put them in a small room. If he didn't show up for a while, they wouldn't be able to clean every room in S city. All checked. And time waits for no one. After watching the surveillance video and checking the relevant information, Yezikin's face became colder and colder. And Yeziwei's condition is very bad. At the beginning, she was frantically searching for information and racing against time to find her daughter. But when all traces of Mo Xiangnuen disappeared, she fell into deep self-blame and suddenly ran back to the room where the eldest and second child were sleeping, guarding them every step of the way. She was sensible at first, but when she asked Yezikin to no avail, she couldn't help losing her temper, blaming herself, and expelling the nurse from the hospital. It is possible that Mo Xiangnuen's disappearance caused her postpartum depression. Baidu Encyclopedia. Postpartum depression refers to the obvious depressive symptoms or typical depressive episodes in women during the puerperal period. It belongs to the puerperal psychiatric syndrome together with postpartum restlessness and postpartum psychosis. The incidence rate is 15% to 30%. Postpartum depression typically occurs within 6 weeks after delivery. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1099. Chapter 1099 Mo Xiangnuen who was thrown to the ground. Others haven't noticed yet, but Yezikin is in a restless mood because of the disappearance of the child, but Yezikin has to pay attention to it, because Ye Yuyi's spiritual aspect has a history. Ye Weiwei is emotionally unstable and wants to find the third daughter as soon as possible, but at the same time he is not willing to leave the eldest and second child. She forced herself into a situation where she could not relax her nerves at any time and any place. When I was changing clothes for the boss and the second child, tears suddenly rolled down my face. I pulled my clothes and lowered my head to apologize, I'm sorry. Because she saw another set of pink baby clothes, brand new, prepared for her third daughter, but now. She blamed herself very much and felt that she had not protected her daughter well. In just 2 days, I experienced severe depression in the night. Yuan Ran and Gongkin Li talked to her whenever they had free time, trying to calm her impetuous heart, but to no avail. When Ye Wei was looking for her daughter, they could only convince Ye Wei with the reason that the eldest and second child needed mommy's care. Ye Wei was still very stable when taking care of her children. Sometimes she would smile at her children, but she must not remind her of her third daughter. The eldest and second eldest children are considered good-tempered among babies. They basically don't cry or fuss, but they are not very fond of it, but they are not abnormal. The only time Ye puts the two children together is when she sees them, she will be particularly happy, Xiao Qingfeng, Xiao's Hiruo. Maybe it's because babies have their own way of verbal communication. The two children stare at each other, big eyes and small eyes. The 3-week-old baby is no longer as wrinkled as it was when he was born. Now that he has grown up, he is becoming more and more white and chubby. The eldest is a little bit fatter, and the second one is of an average weight and figure, neither fat nor thin. Yuan Ran watched from the side, holding it back for a long time and remembering what the elders often said when looking at their children, this child looks like he is blessed. Ye Weiwei immediately laughed, why do you say such things, but I like to hear them. As a mother, of course she is happy when others praise her child. Moreover, these words came out of Yuan Ran's mouth, which was really strange. Yuan Ran regretted it after saying this. Was she infected by those elders? The boss seemed to understand what they were saying, and tried to raise his fisted hands to wave. Yahweh grabbed his hand and gently pulled his fingers apart, but as soon as the adult let go, the child clenched his fist again. The boss has a habit. His fingers are flexible. Not only can he make a fist, but he can also raise his fingers. In short, it depends on his mood. Yuan Ran sat beside the bed with Yayoi. While taking care of the child, he paid close attention to Yayoi's emotions. I have heard that people who suffer from postpartum depression can be cured in a few months or a few years at most. However, you must not whisper about the hidden dangers of postpartum depression, especially if you are the only one at night. Seeing that her mood was stable now, Yuan Ran also breathed a sigh of relief. Something falls on the ground and makes a sound. The two of them turned their heads to look at it at the same time. It was a hard sign. Yuan Ran was frightened and wanted to reach out to pick it up, but Ye Wei had already picked up the sign. Flipping it over, I saw the words Mo Xiang Nguyen written on it. This nameplate was brought over by Ye Zi, but they had deliberately kept the sign in an inconspicuous place. How come they were caught and knocked down by the boss here again? Title, Scare You. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1100. Chapter 1100 The Fate of the Three Babies. Ye Wei remained silent after picking up the name tag, and the slight smile on his face suddenly disappeared without a trace. Xiao Li, look at the child. If she is sleepy, coax her to sleep. Yuan Ran tried to divert her attention to the eldest and second child, but Ye Wei held on to the third child's name tag and refused to let go. She looked at the eldest and second eldest children, and saw that they were neither crying nor making trouble, and then stared down at the name tags in their hands. Yuan Ran had no choice but to quietly reach out and touch the boss's hand, and squeezed it gently. She was unable to strike hard, and the boss felt no pain at all. Instead, he thought someone was playing with him and started laughing. Ye Wei heard the child's whisper, and thought even more of the child whose circumstances were unknown after his disappearance. He immediately pushed the chair away and stood up, making a loud noise. It was this sound that frightened the second child, Yezhiruo, to cry wow. The eldest son, who was still a little giggling just now, saw his sister crying. He was stunned for a while, and then he also shouted ah. The only thing that frightened me was the child's cry. It was not because I was afraid, but because I felt that I had not done my duty as a mother from beginning to end. Don't cry, baby, it's all the mother's fault. Hold the second son who was crying heavily in his arms, and comfort the eldest son. Yuan Ran helped her pick up the boss, and the two of them coaxed him together. Probably because he felt the warmth of his mother, Xiao's Hiruo just cried symbolically for a while and then calmed down. But Ye Zi kept coaxing and didn't stop. Yuan Ran put the eldest child into his exclusive crib, and quietly approached Ye Wei, protecting the second child in her arms. Because Yuan Ran found that her hands were shaking. Xiao Li, what's wrong with you? Ye Wei raised his eyes and asked in an anxious tone, if Qingfeng and Ji don't like to cry, there will be people to comfort them when they cry, but what about Nuan? Will Nuan cry? Is there anyone to comfort her? Yuan Ran could only follow her wishes and calm her down. Xiao Li, Nuan is fine, Nuan won't cry. Ye Wei shook his head, no, she must have been crying, but I can't find her, I can't coax her. I'm such a failure as a mother. It's okay, her name is Xiang Nuan, she was born facing the sun, she will live bravely, we will find her soon. Come and give her to me, she is sleepy and it's time to sleep. Yuan Ran always kept a gentle and calm tone when talking to her, trying to avoid topics that would cause her uneasiness. Ye was the only one who obediently handed the child over to her. After seeing Yuan Ran gently put the child into her crib, Ye Wei felt a little depressed. She covered her face with her hands and buried her head, feeling a deep sense of loss covering her whole body. En Ran, am I not suitable to be a mother? I can't protect my children. You are already very lucky, Xiao Li, you have 3 lovely babies, and I will never have such good luck as you in my life. Sorry. Yuan Ran shook his head, I'm not saying this to make you feel sorry. I just want to tell you that it's useless to blame yourself and stay in a low mood. After what happened with Kitano, she learned to be relieved about many things from the moment she decided to be with Kitano again. She trapped herself in a dead end and couldn't get out, so she kept hurting herself and the people around her. Xiao Li, I will guard these two children for you, you go find Nuanuan. End of this chapter.